Pananda, and welcome back to Matchday Live. It feels like forever. 2.5 weeks since we've been with you at the Stoke Kairas. It's good to be back for this lunchtime League One battle as high-flying Mansfield Town come to the Stoke Kairas. Wrexham keen to return to winning ways after defeat in the FA Cup last weekend against Harrogate and that heartbreak of the late draw against Charlton the week prior. Andy Morrell and Mia Roberts have set their alarm clocks nice and early this morning. Good to see you both. Welcome back to Matchday Live for this lunchtime kick-off. Andy, let me perhaps start with you. Is it different for a player to have to get up and eat a bowl of pasta halfway through the Saturday morning? How does it change the pre-match routine?
Yeah, well, routine is everything for a footballer. I used to go for a walk with the dog and get a paper, and then read the paper, then do your pre-match, and then you're all set routine all along, and it does mess with it a little bit. You're eating chicken and pasta at 8:30 in the morning and stuff. It's all wrong, but all footballers love their routine, so it is different. But they'll be just, again, when you're here, time's gone, you're on to the next thing, and looking forward to the game, obviously.
Mia, you made the long journey down to Charlton and across to Harrogate as well. When the players are in the dressing room this lunchtime, I'm sure it's always nice to be back at home, but is there a feeling of almost trying to control your adrenaline a bit because you're that keen to get out and try and put things right back in front of your home fans?
Yeah, definitely, and I think, when we haven't had too many performances where we've been poor, but when we have those few performances, the sort of comeback is always very strong, and I think we're so good. This side is so good at making sure that reaction is there. I think Phil Parkinson always makes sure that it's there, and I think I expect a really strong performance today and a really quick start as well, because they'll be desperate to sort of show people that last week wasn't right, and they'll be determined to put it right.
Andy, the home record here this season has been excellent, 5 wins and just that draw against Huddersfield, but Mansfield have won their last 3 on the road and have got an excellent away record, so this is going to be right up there with the biggest tests Wrexham have had here so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. I really like Mansfield as a club and the way they go about it. Nigel Clough is a really, really good manager. Very simple, very basic, but he gets a group of players that is just desperate to work hard for him and the club, and they just go about their business really well. They've had an unfortunate summer where they've lost a lot of goals in Keeler Dunn going to Barnsley, but what they have done is they've replaced that with Gregory and Evans, and as a pair they've been really, really good this year, and they've a little tweak to formation, which has led to them picking up these 3 away wins over the last three games, and this is going to be really tough. They're a big, strong, powerful team, and like you say, this is a big test for us today.
Well, a reminder of the Wrexham team this afternoon, if you've not managed to catch it so far on social media. Arthur Okonkwo in goal. Back 3, Max Cleworth, Dan Scarr and Tom O'Connor. Ryan Barnett and James McLean will be the wing-backs. George Dobson, as ever, anchors in midfield. Andy Cannon and Elliot Lee alongside him. Paul Mullin and Ollie Palmer up top. So one change, Mia, from the team who ran out at Charlton, the return of Cannon, who impressed of course off the bench, in place of Ollie Rathbone.
Yeah, no real surprises for me. I sort of expected that 11 to be starting today. I think Andy Cannon, when he came on at Charlton, looked very good. I know that goal sort of adds to that, but I thought he came on and did a real good job. And listen, I thought Owen O'Connell was, I think Phil Parkinson alluded to it in his pre-match, that he was probably one of the stronger ones at Harrogate last week, so unfortunate to drop out, but Dan Scarr in recent weeks has been exceptional, as has Max Cleworth and Tom O'Connor as that back 3, so no real surprises, but I'm sure James McLean coming back in as well today will be looking to put in a proper captain's performance and sort of lead this team back to winning ways.
Andy, we talked about Mansfield and how well they've been doing so far this season. Let's have a look at the league table, because we will see just how far high-flying Nigel Clough's team is. And when you come up from League 2, I'm guessing the first objective for most clubs, perhaps not this one, is to get established and ensure you don't go straight back down again. But Mansfield have really exceeded expectations. We have a look there, they're going at 2 points a game in 5th place. They've got a couple of games in hand on Barnsley, a game in hand on Wrexham of course, but they're flying high and they're up there with as high as a league position as they've ever had. This is really good times if you're a Mansfield fan.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's different between the 2 clubs that are playing today is that there's very little expectation on Mansfield this year. They got out of that league, it took them 3 years to get out under Clough, and then they've not got that pressure to go and do it again and go back to back like potentially there is here at this football club because of the money that's been put in and the owners and the hype that is around it, so they can just go about their business and they can play. I'm sure that if they'd have been given 17th, say, at the start of the season, at the end of the season, they'd have took that. But I think they've just been able to go and play with freedom and just go and take it to these big clubs like we are doing and go and have a go and seeing where it takes them. And they've certainly done that. They go about their business very, very well, and they are so hard working that you'll see today that we have got to be bang at it to get anything out of this game.
Well, just a few moments ago, I got the opportunity to catch up with Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson and see what his thoughts were ahead of facing the Stags. Well, Phil, a lunchtime kick-off this afternoon. Your excellent home record coming up against a team who've done very well on their travels. How are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, interesting game really. I think both teams would have taken the league position at this stage of the season. Obviously, Mansfield, a team we've come up against 3 times last year, and yeah, it's an interesting game for us. They've kept a lot of the players like we have, and then added a sprinkling of quality in there as well. So yeah, it's going to be a good game. 2 competitive teams, and it's great to be talking about it as a top of the table clash at this stage.
As you say, Phil, 2 teams that came up from League 2 together last year. How useful will those 3 matches be that you played against the Stag last season when you look at this afternoon's game?
Yeah, I mean, last season they played a diamond, and I felt as the season went, the games against them went on, we got better at playing against it. First 45 at their place on a Tuesday night, I thought they were very good and we hung in there. But since then they've changed to 3 at the back, similar to ourselves. It's 2 teams with similar systems, so there's a lot of matchups all over the pitch. It's a bit similar to the Huddersfield game in a way, who can come out and top in those individual battles.
Talk us through your team this afternoon, Phil.
Yeah, Max comes in with Scary. Obviously, Max played last week. Scary comes back in. Same back 3 which played against Charlton, which I thought did so well. Really tough on Owen O'Connell because he was probably one of our best players last week. Barney and Jimmy comes back in. I thought it was the chance to give Jim a little bit of a breather last week, even though he's a supreme athlete. It was nice to see freshness back in his legs this week on the training pitch. And Elliot comes back in with Dobbo and Andy, and I think that midfield 3 has done well, certainly in the home games, and Ollie and Moles at the top of the pitch.
You spoke of your disappointment of Harrogate, Phil, and lacking conviction, in your words, around the box. Has that been a particular area of focus in training this week?
Yeah, I think when you analyse the performance, you're not going to create as many chances as we did, and it's very rare to create as many chances as we did and not get a goal for us over the years. And sometimes it's a combination of we can do better, but things didn't quite fall for us as well. And you get games like that, and there's no positives for us going out the cup. We wanted to progress in it, but we've got to put that game to one side, and we kind of went back a step to the Charlton game and looked at some of the stuff from that game we did and what we needed to reproduce today, because I think a lot of that game and a lot of the way Mansfield played to Charlton, certainly in the second half when Charlton's flipped to a back 3, is transferable to today's game.
Just finally, Phil, Nigel Clough up against you in the dugout today. The 2 of you in the top 10 longest-serving managers now in the EFL and the Premier League. You going to have a chance to have a cup of tea with Nigel afterwards?
Yeah, listen, we've known Nigel for a lot of years in terms of coming up against him. I think Steve's known him even longer than I have. And yeah, it's always competitive on the touchline and on the pitch, as you'd expect, because both staffs want to win. But we'll always catch up for a chat afterwards.
All the very best today, Phil.
Thank you.
Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving us his thoughts. Well, Phil as honest as ever in his reflections on coming up short against Harrogate. But just turning attention to today, how important is it, do you think, that Wrexham get off to a really strong first 10 minutes or so and get the crowd going? Because sometimes we've seen in the past with lunchtime kickoffs, fans can be a little bit more subdued than normal. We can see there's 1,300 Mansfield fans in here, but Wrexham need their fans in good voice quickly.
Yeah, I think 12:30 kickoffs. There'll be some people in here today who won't long have woken up, so we'll still have that sort of morning voice. I actually got up early this morning.
Good on you.
But no, I think it is very important that we start well. I thought we started well at Harrogate last week, and sadly couldn't capitalise on that. But that early start really lifts this place, and once you do that, it's really hard for an opposition team to sort of fight back against that. So if we do that today, I think we'll be successful.
Well, the last time out in the league, Wrexham made the trip to South London. It was a game that they played so well in for so long, but ultimately at the end had to settle for a point. Let's remind ourselves of what happened last time out in the league in the trip to the Valley.
It will be O'Connor to whip it in. It's flat to the near post, goes across the face, and it's in! Did McLean get the touch on that, or was it an own goal? Wrexham don't care too much. It was vicious delivery by O'Connor, just over the defenders at the near post. There was a delay from the Wrexham fans and me, because just for a second, you thought, where's that gone? Has it gone wide? But fair play.
Nobody really celebrated, did they? It was weird. But it's gone really low, very similar to the one Charlton had at the other end. Put it in really low, and normally your front man is the one that heads it out. And it just deceives everybody. I think it gets the touch off one of the opposition players in there.
Yeah.
Can't quite see who it is, so it's an own goal. But who cares? Great delivery in. Have to defend it, can't leave it.
His job, McConquer Mirabel goes body to it. Rathbone got good contact now. The ball back into the box, headed towards goal and in. It's a peculiar goal by Gillespie. A looping header, getting up above O'Connor and Scar, and just looped it. Okonkwo had no chance. It's a strange equaliser, but then Wrexham's goal was a bit peculiar too, and we're level again. McLean inside, here's Dobson driving forwards. Cannon's made a great run, and Dobson's found him in the box, squares it, Mullen, great tackle, Cannon! Scores! Great work, Cannon, within a minute of coming on, puts the ball through the keeper's legs from close range. The Wrexham fans are going insane behind that goal, but it was a great movement, lovely ball by Dobson. Great defending to deny Mullen a finish, but Campbell followed it in, 6 yards out, cool finish with the keeper. Kieran Durkin tribute finish, and Wrexham take the lead.
Well, it just opens up for him. Dobson steps in, and for some reason the left side centre half, Edwards, he stays inside.
You would think this is it, as Taylor sweeps it into the far post, nodded towards goal, blocked, big shout for handball, and it's deflected wide, and the ref's given a penalty. Controversial. McLean got a shove in the chest from Mitchell as well. The penalty's given. Okonkwo bouncing up and down, trying to put him off, and Godden drills it into the roof of the net, and Charlton rescue a point for themselves in a dramatic match.
Heartbreak at the end then for Wrexham in South London last time out in the league, but a very strong performance throughout that game. Mia, I see this week that Phil Parkinson's been in conversation with the head of the referees in the EFL and has had an apology for the decision that was given against Max Cleworth at the end. Will that be any consolation to him now?
No, in all honesty, I don't think so. I mean, the decision's given and you end up losing 2 points from it, so, you sort of just have to take it as it is and move on to the next game. But from that game, I thought it was probably one of our strongest away performances so far this season. I thought we were really good, particularly in that second half. We came out really well, and it's just one of those you look back on now, and it is sort of 2 points drop because of that position you find yourself in, 2-1 up with very little time to go, and then obviously the manner of defeat in which it was with the penalty that some people have obviously said has been a bit controversial, but looking at performance wise, I thought the levels were very good. I thought defensively we set in and our shape was exceptional really, and the goals we scored as well were of good quality, that Andy Cannon one in particular. But they can take a lot away from it. I know there was a lot of disappointment, but the sort of reaction still has to come off that one. I know the reaction wasn't there at Harrogate last week, but the performance levels Phil Parkinson would have been very happy with, and on another day you leave the Valley with 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is of course Remembrance weekend this weekend, and just over my shoulder you might be able to see on the top of the Mould Road stand there some Royal Marines in true Wrexham style. The delivery of the match ball today on Remembrance weekend will be delivered by Abseil by some Royal Marines off the top of the Mould Road stand, and we'll hopefully bring you that as we move very close to kick-off this afternoon. We also have some of the crew from HMS Dragon with us here today as special guests, one of the Royal Naval warships. Great to have them with us at the Stoke Kairas this afternoon. Another newcomer to these parts in recent weeks has been Matty James. He came in just a few weeks ago, having previously been at Bristol City and prior to that in the Premier League with Leicester City. And I had the chance to catch up with our new midfielder a couple of days ago.
For a few weeks now, what have been some of your early reflections having arrived at the club?
I think just how welcoming everybody's been. You know, the boys, the staff, you know, everybody at the football club's kind of welcomed me and kind of made me feel, you know, right at home and part of it. You know, I really enjoyed it, just being back in the rhythm of training, in a first team environment. And yeah, like I said, I feel like I've settled in really well.
You've come up, of course, to the club from a championship side in Bristol City. You captained the team last year, you were a regular in the team, you had over 100 appearances there. Was it a surprise to you in the summer after your 3-year contract expired that you weren't offered something new?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, it was a little bit of a surprise, and I think the closer we kind of got to the end of the season, it kind of became something's not quite right here. So I understand the football game, and I understand that they have a philosophy, and maybe my age was kind of the wrong side of what they were looking for. You know, I had a really good relationship with Liam Manning, and he was quite honest with me throughout it. I think he was fighting my battle the best he could, but couldn't quite get a contract over the line or even a contract offer to myself. So it was a bit of a shock and a little bit of a shame. But you know, like I say, we kind of move, and with it being, it's just the football world, unfortunately. And you know, it was a little bit of a tough summer. You know, and to get this opportunity now, I'm kind of raring to go and, you know, thrive. Just ready to get going, really, ready to play.
And as a footballer, Matty, who's known professional life for over a decade before that point of release, how do you then go about planning your summer and being ready for a call like the one you've had from Wrexham?
Yeah, I think at first when I kind of got the feeling that Bristol wasn't there, and then I got told that, you know, I wasn't going to be offered a contract, I think at that point I was quite relaxed about it because of my past kind of 3 seasons at Bristol City and the amount of games that I did play. So there was things that were happening and plates were spinning, so I thought that something would come. And then the closer it kind of comes to, you know, the kind of deadline day, and you're kind of like, what is actually happening now? So there was a lot of frustration, a lot of kind of, you know, emotion in it as well. You know, I had to kind of fight against my own head a little bit because I just weren't expecting to be in that situation. So I kept myself as fit as I possibly could. Leicester City were unbelievable, and they allowed me to come in and do a pre-season there.
One of your former clubs?
Yeah, one of my former clubs. So they were amazing, and you know, I kind of trained with them as much as I possibly could, which gave me a normal routine, if you will. But then when it comes to the weekends, and they're playing games and preparing for games, and I'm not, it then sets back in a little bit. So the weekends were quite tough, you know, but it was a little bit nice to kind of spend some time with my family as well. That was a kind of the positive note. But then, you know, when my sons are asking me, you know, Daddy, are you going to sign? Is anyone? And you're kind of like, I hope so. So when the call then came and said, would I come in and train? I was literally, yeah, 100%. Let's hopefully get something done, and you know, luckily we did.
And what was your experience like for your first time being part of a matchday squad at Charlton?
Yeah, unbelievable. Just kind of getting changed again, being part of like just the simple things of travelling to a hotel the night before with the lads, you know, then travelling to the game on match day, you know, seeing almost 3,000 fans there. You know, it was well supported from Charlton as well. It's almost a full house. So I mean, to turn up to that game was excellent, and the fans were amazing. It was just a little bit unfortunate at the end that we didn't quite get the win, but a great experience, you know, certainly for me, and to be back involved in it, I was buzzing really individually. For sure.
You're here for a couple of months, at least initially, until January.
Yep.
As a player, what can the fans look forward to seeing from you when they get the chance to see you?
Well, I mean, it's just, I want to try and play football. I want to try and, you know, win football matches as well. Hopefully, that's, you know, for me, I want to win as many games as I possibly can. So from my point of view, it's, you know, combative, you know, kind of, you know, defensive minded. Hopefully, kind of be in and around and break play up, but also have, passes forward, kind of bring other players into play, and kind of smooth things out, and just make sure that, try and read the game the best I can to allow us to be, a really attacking threat, really.
As we said, you played in the Championship throughout last year.
Yeah.
From what you've seen of League One so far, what do you expect to be the key differences in playing style?
I think obviously in the Championship you'll get quite a few players and teams that have dropped from the Premier League, and they've held on to them players. A lot of them teams are still in the Championship now, so like the budgets and the players that are there, sometimes that maybe the passes through all the thirds, a lot of possession. Some of the teams hold possession, and you have to be a little bit more, resilient in that sense. And I think from what I've seen, certainly from League One, the teams they're getting after each other, and it's very, very aggressive. Certainly the games that I've had, Charlton, Huddersfield, and even the FA Cup game there, the combative, the fast, it's intense, and I think that that's probably one of the biggest differences. There doesn't seem to be any kind of standoff of what I've seen yet. There may be as it goes on, but I think the more aggressive and on the front foot you are, if you can win the ball higher up, which Wrexham are kind of renowned for as well, and then getting crosses into the box and things like that, and being aggressive and finishing the chances, I think that's probably one of the biggest differences.
Mansfield at home this Saturday,
Yeah.
3rd against 4th. Mansfield manager Nigel Clough has actually been quite public in saying we're exceeding our expectations so far this season. We didn't expect to do this well in a nutshell so far. Take me into the dressing room of a club who've got that kind of mentality. Does that make players almost have a bit of imposter syndrome that we're overachieving, or does it build a level of confidence that people actually go, well, do you know what? We don't fear anyone.
Yeah, I think that's probably it there. I think that the fact that if they do feel that is how they're doing, and they are overachieving a little bit, I think it almost becomes like, well, we're not expected to be in this position, so we'll now play 3rd in the league, and we'll show respect, but not too much, and we'll go out there and we'll try and win the game, and they may be that little bit more relaxed to try things or to do things that they wouldn't normally do. But I think, is that also something that you can then rest on your laurels a little bit and think, oh, we shouldn't be here, and then you kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit. So I think you've got to be wary of them situations, them kind of comments. Certainly for us going into the weekend, I think we just focus on how we play, how we want to kind of beat Mansfield, and hopefully we can do that.
And finally, Matty, this will be your first experience of the Stoke Rats, and hopefully potentially your first chance to run out in front of new home fans.
And I'm really looking forward to it. A lot's kind of been said about the home support and how the players certainly feel when they play here, and they feel like they can beat anybody. And I think for me to be involved in, like I said to you, to be involved in football again, and to be here hopefully on Saturday, and fingers crossed I make my debut, I'm looking forward to it.
New Wrexham midfielder Matty James giving me his thoughts a couple of days ago. Andy Matty's come in with a great pedigree. He's played in the Premier League for Leicester City. He's 33 years old, so he's got a lot of experience, but still a lot of running in his legs. What's he going to bring to the squad?
Well, what a fantastic, well-spoken guy he is there.
Absolutely.
Speaks very, very well. He's going to bring a wealth of experience from leagues above. He's definitely been brought in to cover George Evans' his position. And I think that Dobson is on 4 yellows. He's got 6 more games to get through till that extends to 10. It's more than likely going to happen that he's going to have a suspension at some point. It'll probably be after this game, to be fair. But he will then get an opportunity to play, and when that phone call came for him, I bet he was absolutely over the moon to just get in somewhere, get training again, and then it's up to him now. What I've heard from Bristol City was that he was very, very good last year, and how he's not got a club, I do not know. Maybe this is the one for him.
Matty James not in the 18 today, so he's going to have to wait a little bit longer to get his chance. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us on Matchday Live throughout the afternoon. #WXMMDL. You can see it in the top right-hand corner of the screen. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions. We will, of course, be back here on YouTube at half-time and full-time with analysis and reaction. You'll be pleased to see, to my right, that the Marines Commando safely came down with the match ball off the Mould Road stand. That has been delivered in readiness for kick-off. But before we get to that point, let's have a final reflection on Wrexham's very short time in the FA Cup this year, with the highlights from our trip to Harrogate.
Callan slipping it forward for Rathbone, and this is Mullin able to dig out the shot. Good save from Belshaw, down really smartly. Still the danger though, back in for Palmer. Over the top this time. Duke McKenna with the corner, met by Muldoon, and Harrogate Town ahead. Some story. Jack Muldoon with the goal. Taken really smartly. Reacted quickly, perfectly placed. Big challenge here for those in red in the second period. Going in pursuit of parity. That's a good ball though that finds Barnett in space, and he can't quite keep the shot down. The creator in chief in this side, but Ryan Barnett still without a goal. And it goes awkwardly. Palmer back in his own box. And Mullin reacted well to potentially here spark the counter-attack led by Barnett. Support either side. This is Dobson. And George Dobson denied by Belshaw. Kept it out with his legs. Barnett trying to provide the service as he often does, and he did this time for James McLean. This is Lee. McLean. Threatening ball in, straight up in the air really from Dooley. Still the danger. Callan to Bodvarsson. Callan. Familiar pattern of play this. James McLean on the right foot delivers it this time, helped on by Lee. Ball flinging himself at it, but it's not going to count. The offside flag is up and the goal disallowed.
Disappointment then in North Yorkshire last Sunday. Wrexham exiting the FA Cup at the first hurdle this year, so no cup run for Phil Parkinson's men to enjoy. But that does, of course, leave every sinew to be strained, to be focused on the league campaign. And this afternoon's tussle with 5th place Mansfield will be about as tough as it's been for Wrexham at home this season. Nigel Clough's team arriving in excellent away form. If you haven't sorted out your pass to watch or listen to this game, please head to www.wrexhamafc.co.uk/live. Follow the links to connect with iFollow. We'll be back here on YouTube at half-time with analysis and to catch up with head of women's football Gemma Owen, and we'll be back again on YouTube at full-time for all the post-match reaction. Keep in touch with us, #WXMMDL. But before this game starts, we will have a minute's silence for remembrance and the laying of wreaths. We will see you back here on YouTube at half-time. Welcome back to the Stoke Kairas half-time here, and it's Wrexham 1, Mansfield Town 0. So Phil Parkinson's side with the advantage at the interval. The first of the season from Ryan Barnett. He struck in the 7th minute, and that is the difference between these two teams. But that doesn't really paint the picture of a first half in which Mansfield have had plenty of threat. Will Evans and Lee Gregory causing much for the Wrexham back three to deal with, and they had opportunities right from the very start. Evans going close in the 2nd minute after George Dobson uncharacteristically gave the ball away. Evans couldn't find a way past Arthur Okonkwo, and in the 4th minute, perhaps the major talking point of the half, when Gregory went clear of Dan Scarr. Scarr tracked Gregory's run. They went into the penalty area together. Gregory went down. Big shouts for a penalty, which probably would have meant for a red card for Dan Scarr, but referee Simon Mather wasn't interested and waved away the claims. It has been a fairly hectic first half. Mia, let's start with that early incident. Was Dan Scarr lucky, or do you think Simon Mather called that right?
I mean, I haven't seen too many replays of it. Like you say, because the game's been so hectic, we sort of had to stop looking at the replays and just get back on with the game. So I think straight after that, Wrexham pretty much was straight on the attack again. On first glance, I didn't think there was too much in it. I think Dan Scar's just maybe put one hand across, and Gregory, experienced player he is, has obviously gone down and tried to play for that penalty, which obviously he's well entitled to do. But on first glance, for me, no penalty, and luckily, obviously, no penalty as well. But yeah, to be fair, the first half I thought it's been very frantic, very end to end. We talked about starting very well in that first half and lifting this crowd, and I thought Wrexham have definitely done that. It's been a great reaction after what was a poor performance last week.
Andy, we thought that Mansfield would bring plenty of threat, and Gregory and Evans have really worked the Wrexham back three hard through that half. Looking at Phil Parkinson a little bit in that first half, he didn't seem altogether happy at times with Wrexham's performance. How did you see it?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant advert for League One. Let's say that right from the start. It's been an end-to-end. It's been a real good quality game at the moment. I think he'll just be disappointed with when the transition happens and one of our centre-halves has gone in with the ball for us. We are 2 for 2 then, so either Dobson has to just make sure he's there to make the 3, or you have to get tight and stop it at source. And too many times it's gone into Evans, spun around the corner for Gregory. That's where the possible penalty comes from, is that movement. So he'll be just saying, when we've got the ball, stay switched on, get tight to your man, and know that if it does get taken, the transition happens, then you can stop it at source.
Mia, we've talked about Ryan Barnett many times on Matchday Live this season. He hadn't scored before today. That was a beautifully taken finish.
Yeah, it was lovely, and the flick from Mullin as well was equally as good. And you're sort of thinking in that position, just as he's driving, Mullin's made a great run just off him. I was sort of screaming, give it him, give it him, give it him. But he's held on to the ball, and in the end made that shot, made it look very easy in the end. He just took it into that bottom left corner, which at the time Pym, who was in goal at that moment, couldn't do anything about.
Yeah, you mentioned Christy Pym there, of course, the Mansfield goalkeeper substituted on the half hour. Looked like either a shoulder or arm injury, so Scott Flinders comes off the bench and straight in goal for Mansfield, so further disruption there for Nigel Clough. Will he be thinking in the dressing room at half-time that his side are worth at least parity, Andy, do you think?
Yeah, I would have thought so. They've had a couple of really good chances that they've not taken. I thought for the penalty, I thought Gregory could have maybe just got his shot off a bit earlier. His touch is just in between his feet. Yeah, they've had chances to level the game. I think he'll just go more of the same, please, in the second half. I think for Wrexham, if we can get Lee on the ball a little bit more, I don't think we've seen enough of him in attacking areas especially, to then create off the back of that. We're looking at Dobson from our back three, we're looking to Dobson, but there's no real other offer apart from the longer ball to Palmer. So can we get Lee maybe dropping into a pocket, Cannon dropping into a pocket, to then maybe play through rather than just over?
The other thing I just wanted to catch you on, Andy, briefly, is Ollie Palmer's all-round game, because one thing I'm really seeing from him this season is something perhaps we've not seen from him as much in the past, which is dropping deep, linking play, and then playing quality balls in 2 or 3 times in that first half. He picked the ball up on the break and found Mullin with a quality pass.
Well, his work rate for starters is amazing. He's the one, and we were talking in co-coms about it, as a striker, as a pair, one of you drops, one of you stays up, and normally it's the big guy stays up, and he's the one that you can target to keep the ball for your team when you're under pressure. They're different. Mullin's the one with the legs that will go and play into channels when we haven't got the ball, and Ollie Palmer's the one dropping in and working really hard. So that means he's playing in that sort of 10 role, I suppose, when we get the ball back. So he's picking up a lot of ball that's maybe headed out by us or cleared by us, and he's the one then linking play. And so that is a sort of a change in how I think they were doing last year.
Yeah, definitely a tweak. So if you're just joining us on Matchday Live, a reminder, it's Wrexham 1, Mansfield Town 0 at half-time. Ryan Barnett, the difference between the sides. We're going to let Andy Morrell step out for a second, because we've got the chance to hear from Gemma Owen, our head of women's football operations here at Wrexham. Gemma, lovely to see you.
Thank
particularly
you
having recovered from your sick bed this week. We know you've been under the weather, but thank you for coming and joining us on the show today.
No problem. Good to see you.
It's lovely to have an angle on the women's team, Gemma, because we know there's been such progress over the last few seasons. Just bring us up to speed a little bit on how the season's going so far.
We've had a pretty tough start. I think it's fair to say that we did have a difficult start. Not at all what it was like last year. Last year was a very, very different season. We had a fantastic season throughout. This season a little bit different in that sense that we've taken a little while to get going in terms of results. Performances have been pretty decent. The results themselves didn't quite come up until recently. So we've had a bit of a turn in fortunes. it's what we know that we've always been capable of. That, you know, we've got a very talented bunch of girls and staff, but just took a little while to get going. But yeah, we've hopefully turned that corner now.
Yeah, you mentioned the upturn, Gemma, and 4 wins in the last 5 games really suggests that the team have found their groove. Has this been perhaps partly integrating new players or a new system? What do you think has caused the change in fortune?
Yeah, I think people have just got in their stride a little bit. You know, the 3 signings that we brought in, we're really seeing, or other people are seeing, I should say, what they're all about. We knew that was there all along. That's why they were brought in the first place. So, but yeah, I think things are just getting going, and you know, sometimes it's the way football goes. Sometimes it does just take a little while for things to settle, but. Yeah, you know, we really have turned that corner now, and the result last week against Britain Ferry was exactly what we know that we're capable of doing, and yeah, very, very good, and hopefully more to come.
Gemma, I think, you know, this season the aim was obviously to sort of close that gap between the likes of Swansea, Cardiff. I know TNS have started really well this season, we haven't played them yet obviously, but I was at those games against Cardiff and Swansea this season, and I thought, like you say, the performance was top, and it's just that little bit, that result, especially that Swansea game. I think we could have nicked it at the end. Rosie Hughes at the end, last couple of minutes, could have nicked that goal, you end up getting a point. How close do you think you are to just getting over the edge in terms of those games, that big games, in terms of just getting over the edge and getting those points in and just closing that gap?
I think we're closer than ever, if I'm honest. As I said, I know the results weren't quite there at the beginning of the season, but the performances were, and again, we're just not a million miles off, and I think we've closed the gap. Hopefully when we come to play those 2 again, particularly when we come to play TNS, as you say, you know, they've had a great start, and yeah, I really don't think we're a million miles off, and I think we're closer than we were last season, and yeah, now we've got in our stride. I think it would be a good time to see where we're at now in comparison to where we were while we were still getting up and running, I think.
And give us a sense of perspective from your point of view, Gemma. What would success look like from this point forward if we were to wind forward now to the end of the season?
I think top 4's a must. It always has been. It was last year. That hasn't changed. It's still top 4 for us. You know, we originally, before we started the season, we wanted top 2. That was the ultimate aim. Maybe we can do that, and I don't think we should write ourselves off. I don't think anybody else should write us off, particularly with the drive and determination that this group of players and staff have got. So I'd still say top 4 minimum, and then we'll see where we can kick on from there.
And a cup trip tomorrow down to South Wales to Cwmbran. What are you expecting as a challenge from them?
They're doing really well down in the Adran South. You know, they're getting some very good results in that particular division. As we know, we've been there ourselves and caused a few upsets, and teams in Tier 2 have caused some upsets themselves with Adran Prem teams. So yeah, you just never know. You never know. I mean, you know, we all know what cup competitions are like, don't we? And you never know. But I like to think that we've got enough quality to see that game through. But you can't take anything for granted.
And just remind us, Gemma, if fans have never come down to see the women's team, where do you play? What's the admission? What can people expect if they come and support Wrexham women's team for a future home game?
Well, we play down at the Rock in Kevin Mauer. Admissions £3 for adults, £1 for children, under 16s. You know, a fantastic value for money because you do get a very, very good quality product on the pitch. Lots of families there, a very family orientated atmosphere. But equally, you know, you've got 11 women certainly on the Wrexham side, 22 in total who are just absolutely determined with what they're doing. And you know, football's football in my eyes at the end of the day, and you know, you get a fantastic game and a fantastic afternoon out if you do come down and watch us. And you know, we as a group of staff and players are extremely grateful to everyone that comes out and watches us, and you know, hopefully we'll continue to grow on those attendances game by game, season by season. But we want to go out there and perform for everybody that makes the time to come and watch us, and I'd like to think we do that regardless. So yeah, it's the Wrexham way, isn't it?
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Gemma, thank you so much for coming and joining us. We wish you all the very best against Cwmbran tomorrow, and hopefully you'll come and have a chat to us again at Matchday Live later this season. Keep us updated on progress, and hopefully the sign of things to come from the recent upturn in form.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gemma Owen there, our head of women's football operations here at Wrexham, giving us an update on the women's team's progress so far this season. The men's this afternoon, of course, leading Mansfield Town by 1-0. We'll be back here on YouTube at full time to see if Phil Parkinson's side can hang on to that lead. And we'll be hearing from the manager and one of the Wrexham players as ever on Matchday Live. Keep your questions, thoughts and comments coming into us using the hashtag WXMMDL. We'll see you back here on YouTube at full time. Bye for now. A very warm welcome back to the Stoke Kairas, where Wrexham's excellent home form continues. They have beaten promotion rivals Mansfield Town by 1-0 here at the racecourse. Ryan Barnett's goal in the 7th minute proving decisive. Wrexham having the better of quite a lot of the second half, with Palmer and Mullin both going close. The second goal wouldn't come though for Wrexham, which very much kept Mansfield interested in this game, and they hit the bar twice in the final quarter through Lee Gregory and substitute Ben Wayne. But in the end, a very tough fought battle, with Mansfield throwing plenty of punches, particularly in the first half. But Phil Parkinson's side have got into a rhythm of winning matches here at the Stoke Kairas, and another one is notched safely off. 28 points now from 14 games, and Wrexham go within a point of joint leaders Wycombe Wanderers and Birmingham City, with both of those sides in action at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Andy Morrell and Mia Roberts have been on commentary with Mark Griffiths this afternoon. Andy, let me start with you. A game Wrexham deserved to win?
I think they just edged it. Yeah, really tight, really fine lines between the two teams. I think there's two really good, well-organised teams going head-to-head today, and a really good game, a good League One game. But I think we just edged it. I think the Mullin chance, the Palmer chance probably just edges the Lee Gregory one, and the header at the end for Wayne. So I'm going yes, I think they deserved it. And it's that momentum, isn't it, of those home games, of winning games and just becoming a habit, and they've certainly got that this season.
Mia, how did you see it?
Yeah, I'd probably just echo what Andy said. I think for me, that final whistle goes and it feels like a massive win against a team who, could have gone above us today if they get points. So it feels very big, and I think, obviously a couple of weeks ago at Charlton we're criticised for that game management, not being able to finish games and get those 3 points. But today we've done that with a longer period of time as well to have to do that. And I think defensively we look very strong. But also going forward, I thought we look very good. I think Paul Mullin again getting in those opportunities, just not quite finding that goal as of yet, but it's coming. You can sort of feel it. So a lot of positives to take away from today. I'm sure Phil Parkinson will be delighted.
I felt, Mia, that Wrexham's best patch of the game was probably the first 15 minutes of the second half, when I got the impression there might have been some fairly strong words from Phil at half time. They came out positively. Elliot Lee had 2 shots from distance on another day. One of those might have gone in. Palmer and Mullin were looking a handful. Barnett was getting forward as well. George Dobson breaking from midfield. What do you think was being done differently to change the rhythm in the middle of the park? Because in the first half, as we said at half time on Matchday Live, Mansfield perhaps shaded it.
Yeah, and I think Andy highlighted it at half-time about trying to get Elliot Lee on the ball a bit more, and I think that's something maybe we haven't done so much this season, and that sort of surprises me with the likes of George Dobson being brought into the side, someone you can very much trust in that defensive role. So it means your likes of Andy Cannon and Elliot Lee can maybe go a bit forward more, and when they are direct, I think they're so successful in doing it. We saw Andy Cannon a few times in that first half. His footwork's so good, he can beat 1 or 2 players and creates that space for the rest of the team. And Elliot Lee in that second half, I thought he got a lot more opportunities from getting on that ball, and obviously almost got a shot on target off one of them in particular, which he actually caught really well, just couldn't quite wrap it round. But yeah, I think the message from Phil Parkinson would have been, let's try and get them two on the ball a bit more, let's also be a bit more composed, let's not force that ball over the top, which we did a few times. But I thought George Dobson again today was exceptional. I think he's been such a good signing and made such a good impact so far this season.
Chris, I think they moved the ball a little bit quicker in that first 15 minutes. Mullin and Palmer playing a little bit closer together, but moving the ball quicker enables the boys, the 2 attacking midfielders, to just get on the ball in the right areas and be able to then go and do their thing and create. And I just thought that they were really on the front foot. They got a lot of second balls, but they just moved the ball a little bit quicker to create the spaces for themselves.
Managerially though, Andy, I'm guessing Phil Parkinson was sitting there thinking as the chances came and went, is this going to come back and hurt us? Because as we saw, Mansfield had a couple of late opportunities. That could suddenly have been a couple of points dropped. with that second goal proving elusive. Is that going to worry him at all?
No, I don't think so, because I think you know that Mansfield are going to get chances in the game at some point. They're going to have a spell, and they did that. They'd certainly turned that first 15 minutes to themselves then, and were able to get at us. And obviously the chance for Gregory, which hits the crossbar, we got away with one a little bit there. But we're going to create chances at the other end as well, so you have to take it. He'll be just absolutely delighted. Clean sheet, 3 points at home against a title rival. How much better does it get for a Saturday morning, or Saturday lunchtime, should we say?
Mia, we've talked about Ryan Barnett, but usually in a sense of his attacking quality, but about 10 minutes from time today we saw his defensive quality really come to the fore, because Mansfield had an opportunity potentially. It looked like it's going to be Aaron Lewis one-on-one with Arthur Okonkwo, but for Barnett getting a sliding tackle in at just the right time. If he can bring that element as well to his game, then really you've got the complete footballer.
Absolutely, it was a great bit of play from him defensively. I think he's stayed alive to that chance. So many times you see it in football where defenders switch off when they think the keeper's made that save, but he's been alert to it. He knows Arthur might spill it just in that dangerous position where the strikers tend to be more alive than defenders, and he gets that touch and puts it out for a corner, and without that I think that's a definite goal.
We talked about Paul Mullin briefly, Andy, there. He's getting opportunities. Perhaps the best one he had today was when he went clear. It looked like Scott Flinders got a touch on Mullin's shot and pushed it round the post. Is that going to concern him at all that he's not got that goal, or is this more about getting into the right opportunities and getting in the right positions?
It is about keeping going and getting in those right positions, but as a striker you're just desperate to score, and he is in that position where he wants that goal. It's just not falling for him quite at the moment, and whether he got a touch on it or not, it's just going the wrong side of the post at the moment. But if you keep getting in those situations and keep making those runs, at some point it will happen. It will come off your backside, it will come off whatever, and he'll be off and running. He did it exactly the same last year with the penalty at Forest Green, and he'll just come good. He's got goals in him, and you've seen that from the couple of chances he's had today.
Well, I can see that Phil Parkinson is looming. We've got a chance to bring Phil into discussions. Mia's going to pass her mic. Phil, thank you so much for coming to join us so quickly as ever. How did you see that today?
Yeah, I think we looked a bit like a team who'd lost last week and conceded last minute against Charlton, and at times we struggled a bit, give the ball away cheaply first half, but it was a day about just digging in and make sure we got the result. And people sometimes remember the great wins we've had here, 3 and 4-0, but we've also had games like that where for whatever reason, and throughout the season there is reasons where we don't look as sharp as we'd like to, but you've got to make sure you win, and we've done that terrifically well today. We stuck together, we fought hard, we still had probably the 2 best chances in the second half to go, and we couldn't get that second goal. And also you've got to respect Mansfield, a very good side, and got a good away record as well.
You mentioned that possible hangover from Charlton and Harrogate. Did that surprise you then in your team's performance?
Sometimes an early kick-off as well, just for whatever reason, it just has that feeling where both teams were making mistakes in the first half. Both teams were giving the ball away cheaply. I don't know. I mean, all I can relate it to is after we lost to Birmingham, the Crawley game. After that, it took us a while to get going in that. And we weren't at our best, and I think we've got to shake that off. Quicker, because Charlton was probably one of the best away performances we've had since we've been here. Harrogate, we've dominated the game and done everything but score. It was probably a 3-1 performance for us. So I don't know. As a manager, you're kind of thinking, why weren't we kind of sharp in that first half? It was almost there was so much space to play, but we kind of got lulled into that and played a bit slow at times. When we speeded the game up, we got in some great positions. We scored an outstanding goal from Barney, and like I said, we had chances to extend the league, but we'll take the 1-0 today, and it's great to get back to winning ways but continuing our run in the league, which has been brilliant since the Stevenage game.
Absolutely, and you're back up to that magic 2 points a game now, Phil, and this home record that you've built with all these victories, just a 1 drawn game here this season, it must give you huge confidence that every time you run out here there's a belief that the players are going to get the job done, however it gets done. Yeah,
that's right. It's as I've always said, you've got to win all types of games within all types of performances. It's as simple as that, and we did that today, and that's what it's all about. We stood strong. The defenders were better second half. I've said to the lads, the back 3 at half time, I didn't think they were physical enough with Gregory and Evans in the first half. They were getting dictated to a bit. Second half, Maxi, he's still feeling his way back in. Maxi, Scary and Tommy did a lot better, won a lot more headers, and were more physical with the front two, and it gave us a platform to go and create those chances where we could have won it by more. Sorry.
Was it something, the Charlton game, obviously the disappointment at the end, just conceding, was game management something you've spoken about? over the past couple of
Yeah,
weeks?
I mean, we spoke about the moment where we conceded in that Charlton game about, you know, it wasn't a blatant mistake where someone's trying to pass they shouldn't have done. They just got their way out of that corner, and then we didn't deal with the ball in the box. So, you know, obviously the importance of defending your box, as you know, from the first minute to the last. But today, you know, it's great for us that we learnt from that, and we managed to saw the game through really well in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I thought he kept it up this end of the pitch
exactly.
and in the corners, and just sealed that time out where Charlton maybe we had a free kick. We could have maybe just kept it.
Without doubt. I think, as you know, that when you've conceded late like that, you know, can play on your mind a little bit, because, you know, that was that knocked us out because, you know, because of the manner of the way we played. But listen, you always get ups and downs in games and from game to game. But today we've come through that period well, and the lads, you know, will take a lot of credit for a different style of performance today, a different style of one, but we've still got the points and keeps our run going.
You touched on Ryan Barnett's excellent goal, Phil, but what pleased you more, his goal or his challenge halfway through in the second half when the ball ricocheted off Arthur and Aaron Lewis's point-blank range? Yeah, well, Barney is obviously played in that wing-back role for us a while, but he's obviously a very attack-minded wing-back, but he's sensing danger better and better. He's recovered in those positions quicker, and I mean, I'd imagine Barney would have been man of the match today because of those two key moments in the game. And just finally, Phil, Stockport next in the league. Obviously, Port Vale on Tuesday in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, but another opponent next Saturday that you've seen plenty of in the last few seasons. Yeah, it's funny how the games have come in batches, really, haven't they? You know, we had Rotherham and Huddersfield, two teams who'd come down, and now we've got Mansfield and Stockport, two teams who've come up with us. So, yeah, you know, they've got a big game this afternoon against Bolton. I saw them play against Wycombe Tuesday. We always have great games against them. It'll be a terrific atmosphere, and it's great to go there with 3 points in the bag. Well done, Phil, on those 3 points. Excellent work on the win, and obviously we'll see you next time here on Matchday Live. Look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson, delighted, of course, with his team's 3 points this afternoon. Hard fought, as it always is, against Nigel Clough's Mansfield Town. What are your reflections there, Mia, on some of Phil's comments?
I was quite surprised, really. Started off, you know, saying a bit, maybe not quite at it today. I thought, listening in parts, I think particularly in that first half, like he alluded to, maybe coming out from that defensive line, we were a bit sloppy at times, a bit panicky in getting rid of that ball, which sort of led to Mansfield having a few opportunities, which is obviously, you know, something you never want to happen. You don't want that to come from your own mistakes. But you know, overall he'll obviously be delighted with 3 points in a clean sheet against the top side, and especially, you know, to get that done as the early kick-off. It means now you can sort of sit back for the rest of the weekend, and obviously we've got that game Tuesday, like you said, but it gives us a great platform now to build off and go on to Stockport away next week.
I was surprised in saying that he wasn't too impressed with the performance, because I thought, yes, he alluded to there's different ways to win a game, but I thought we were all quite good at times with the ball, and we moved it quite quickly. But standards, isn't it? You've got to meet those standards that he's used to, especially at home, and he's just alluding to, let's not get carried away, I suppose. To people, you know, the players will listen to interviews and listen to what he's got to say, and they'll go, right, we've got to go again. We can't rest. This isn't like a cup final. It's just another point, and we go again, and we've got to go again next week.
And of course, this afternoon, playing early does put the pressure on the other teams if you can get that win, which Wrexham have done. We'll have a little look at the other fixtures this afternoon. Birmingham at home to Northampton, which is a game that on paper you would expect them probably to win. Other games around the league today, which we will look at in just a moment. But if you've got the points on the board early on, it is a bit of a statement that you can make, and it ensures, of course, that the momentum is wrestled back again, because people will be saying, well, they've drawn against Huddersfield, drawn against Charlton, lost the cup tie. You know, are people starting to work Wrexham out a bit? Is it going to kind of be a bit of a tough run now? I think it was really important that this game was won today.
Well, we were speaking before the game, weren't we, about we were a little bit nervous about it for the first time at home. We weren't certain whether Wrexham were going to win the game. We're very confident that coming here that Wrexham were going to get 3 points because of the way that they have done over the last couple of years, but I think that they went about their business well. They dug in, they dug deep, they defended when they had to defend. Yes, they were not amazing, I suppose, with the ball at times, but you've still got to win the game of football, and they certainly did that.
OK, well, we talked about the forthcoming fixtures. We can see those now on screen for this afternoon. The two early games today. Burton Albion have got a first win of the season, beating Shrewsbury by 1-0. That is now a full-time result. I can confirm that one. And here's the rest of the fixtures this afternoon. So Birmingham at home to Northampton, as we mentioned. High-flying Lincoln have a trip to the southwest to take on Bristol Rovers. Crawley against Huddersfield. Exeter against Charlton. Leyton Orient and Blackpool. Peterborough face Cambridge United. Stevenage up against ever-improving Reading. Stockport County, who've been a bit up and down so far, are at home to Bolton Wanderers. And high-flying Wycombe, top of the table, face the trip north to Wigan Athletic. Mia, we were chatting, weren't we, in midweek, that when we saw Wrexham beating Wycombe on the opening day of the season, we probably didn't expect to be stood here in November with Wycombe top of the tree.
No, definitely not. I think, fair play to them. I think they've obviously, we spoke about them in that first game of the season about the recruitment they'd made, the players they brought in, and I think that was the perfect time to play them at the first game of the season when maybe, some of the players hadn't quite gelled. And now you've seen it. I mean, look at that midweek result against Stockport.
Yeah, 5-0 away win. What a statement.
It's exactly that. It's some statement. And obviously top of the league now, you fancy them to win again today and extend that lead. So, yeah, they're flying at the moment. Definitely a good time to play them, but obviously interesting to see how Stockport get on today as well. I think you're obviously playing them next in the league. They'll be desperate to sort of make amends for that result midweek. So, really interesting. So competitive. Great league to be a part of.
Yeah, Wycombe are under the radar, aren't they? They're completely just gone from... Everybody's looking around at Birmingham and how well they're doing and the multi-millions that they've spent and stuff, and Wycombe have just gone bang, there's 5 wins on the spin and top of the league. And these teams, it can happen, and the ones that have got no pressure on them can go out and play with the freedom that other teams can't because of the pressures. And so, yeah, they're certainly one to look out for over the next sort of 5-6 games and see if they can keep that momentum going.
Let's have a look then at the league table, and we can see there Wrexham's win consolidating third place in the table. Played 14, 8 wins and 4 draws, just the 2 defeats so far this season. 28 points as we approach a third of the way through the campaign, just a point behind Birmingham and Wycombe, as Andy was just mentioning there. But that is a league table where there's a lot of teams that are just starting to find their groove now. The likes of Bolton Wanderers, Barnsley, Huddersfield, Reading, perhaps some of the bigger teams in the league that were struggling in the early weeks a little, are now starting to find their groove. Alex Ferguson used to famously say, Andy, I don't look at the league table until Christmas. As a manager, when did you start looking at it? First week?
Yeah, bang on. Yeah, where's everybody doing? How's everybody getting on? No, I think you can look after 10 games, can't you, and see where roughly people are going to be. But like you just said there, Chris, it's the teams that are expected to do well this season are just starting to grind out those wins now and just starting to move up slowly those tables. So, and it's so tight. There's like 5 points between like 10, 11, 12 teams in there. So I just think you've just got to worry about yourself. Don't look at that really. You've got to just concentrate on going out performing, and whoever's put in front of you, just crack on and see if you can just get those 3 points on that day, because teams are going to get beat in this league. The way that it is, the strength of the league, teams are going to get beat. So as long as you can just get over them, those defeats, and move on and quickly, and then go about getting that next win again, I think that's the best way to look at it.
Mia, next stop is on Tuesday night against Port Vale. About as much of a free hit as you could ever have in the world of free hits, I would suggest. Wrexham having already qualified in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. This is just a battle really to see who gets a home tie in the next round. I'm not anticipating we'll probably see any of the first 11 who started today get a run out there, but perhaps the chance to see 1 or 2 of the new signings. Matty James perhaps might get his opportunity, and perhaps Jon Duthie Botharson might get a start maybe.
Yeah, I hope to see them two in particular. I think definitely, and like you say, it is a free hit, but it's a good opportunity for those players maybe not get into the 11 or let alone even the squad. I think the sort of 15-man squad initially as well, and an opportunity for a bit of confidence to be gained as well. I think if the likes of Botharson can maybe get a goal, what that could give him then going forward into the league would be massive, and that's why you can't sort of undersell that competition, because it can bring a lot of benefits with it as well.
We've seen Botharson come off the bench today, and he actually played with Ollie Palmer for the last part of the game. Could you see them playing as a combination together, or do you think it's going to be a choice between Botharson and Palmer, and Mullin will compete with other strikers, potentially Marriott, obviously, when he's fit again, although that's going to be some time off? Could you see the big front 2 men playing together?
Yeah, I do, because I think Bodvarsson's a little bit more mobile than Palmer. I think he can play probably both. He's probably able to adapt his game a little bit more than Palmer, and so I think I can certainly see them playing, and they're both good sizes to, in that last 10 minutes, make a bit of a difference physically up top and in your own box as well. I thought the subs came on and made a difference today. I think they really lifted the group when things were going a little bit against them. I thought Ollie Rathbone was excellent in there. The second balls he got that was so important, the little nicks, the little challenges that he made to take the ball off the Mansfield team was really cute. And then Bob Farson just running about and making himself a nuisance, and he was able to just keep the ball a little bit longer for us and just wind that clock down and finally get the win.
I thought it was interesting, Mia, that Phil said that Max Cleworth is still feeling his way back a little bit from injury. It didn't look to me today that he was anything other than the usual Max Cleworth. But again, I guess this is Phil's pursuit of excellence and his desire for the standards that players have reached previously to be ones that they're consistently hitting.
No, I agree, and I think he was definitely challenged, particularly first half, by Gregory, who I thought was superb. But I wouldn't have put that down to maybe Max not being right at it. I would have put that down to Gregory's quality, because I think he's a top striker. But second half, I don't really remember saying his name too much. I think Max really sort of marshalled him very well, and he's obviously still very young. Obviously, still coming off the back of that injury, like Phil alludes to, but. I'm quite surprised he has said that, like you, because I think if he's not right, maybe you put in maybe a Lewis Brunt who's maybe still, like, when he's had his opportunity, I think he's taken it very well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but if Max can still hit another level, then that's exciting at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, Andy, as we go forward, we've said, of course, throughout the season on Matchday Live, squad depth is absolutely crucial, isn't it? And particularly when pitches get heavier, weather worsens, highly likely that the likes of Lewis Brunt will be called upon. Tom O'Connor's hardly missed a minute so far this season. We've seen 1 or 2 injuries, obviously, coming into the squad. Those will continue to be the case. So perhaps a little bit of a run in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, particularly with no Carabao Cup or no FA Cup to get minutes in the legs of fringe players, could actually now be really quite something that Phil Parkinson is going to want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the top-up of minutes for those lads just around it that are maybe just looking, going, well, I just need an opportunity. They're the ones that can go out and play on Tuesday night. They can get the minutes and be ready for when something, and if something happens, a suspension, whatever that is, happens, they're ready to then just go in and they're ready not just to take and play a game, but ready to go in and take the shirt off the person that's coming out and be that one that cements themselves back in the group and plays another 10, 20 games on the spin. So I think that's going to be really important for the next bit. And also, like you say, we're out the FA Cup, we're out the Carabao Cup. We can go to Wembley with this Bristol Street Motors competition. So why not take it seriously now? Let's really push. I know we've got a free hit against Port Vale, but we want a home tie because that makes it a little bit easier for us because we're so good here. So let's go and make sure we win the game, and the strength and depth that we do have, we're able to do that.
Absolutely. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us on Matchday Live using the hashtag in the top right-hand corner of the screen. That's hashtag WXMMDL. If you've got a question for Andy Morrell or Mia Roberts, or you have a point you'd like to make, whether you were here at this afternoon's game against Mansfield Town or not, please get in touch with us. We're going to be on air for another few minutes. We hope to get reaction from the Wrexham dressing room. We've heard from manager Phil Parkinson, and we're hopeful of a word with one of the Wrexham players as well. We can just turn our attention a little bit to next Saturday when Wrexham make the trip to Edgeley Park, a ground they know well from recent seasons. Both teams coming up together from the National League and League Two. Always a good battle with Dave Challiner's side. There are next week's fixtures on the screen, and you can see Wrexham's trip to Stockport called out there, third from bottom. Birmingham City have another home game next weekend after being at home to Northampton this afternoon, so an opportunity there for them to continue to forge a path at the very top of the table. Looking at the bookmakers' odds, Mia, the bookies seem to have already decided Birmingham are going to win this league, and when you carry a lot of expectation on your back and a lot of money in the bank, that perhaps is the natural default, but I'm sure they're going to find, particularly as we go through the tough months of the winter, that this might be more of a grind than the bookmakers perhaps think it might be.
Yeah, I think it's something Wrexham can, almost certainly relate to. I think particularly in the National League, I think the bookies straight away were onto that and saying, right, well, they're sort of almost guaranteed to go up. And I mean, you saw how tight that battle was with Notts County, that demonstrated that wasn't necessarily the case. Because it doesn't matter how much your squad costs or how good your players are, you've still got to go out every week and win those 3 points, and that's easier said than done. So I think they might have had a bit of a wake up call as well over the start of this season, where they've gone to a few places and maybe been challenged a bit more than they might have anticipated. I'm not too sure, but they've got a really good side, and I'd obviously be very surprised if they didn't get that automatic promotion and the title. But stranger things have happened. I mean, we see right now Wickham are sat top and they look very good, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Andy?
Yeah, I think Birmingham I would be lumping on because of the way that played against us. And when we went there, I thought they were exceptional. I thought they were miles better with the ball than what I've seen at this level, and so I'd expect them to go on and win the league. They've got strength in depth in all positions. Mir says there's funnier things have happened, but still the bookies don't get it wrong very often, do they? And so they're way massive favourites for this league.
People often say that the Christmas fixtures, because there's so many in a short space of time, really kind of set the tone for the second half of the season. Do you think that gets overplayed at all, Andy?
There are a lot of games, and so in quick succession you can get maybe 12 points over a week and a bit, and so that can make a big difference to the table when you come out the far end of it. So it is just, have you got enough players to get through those games when they come thick and fast? And if you do come through them with a bit of momentum and a bit and winning, say, getting 10 out of 12 points, your position in the table can give you a real lift for that grind of a run-in that you have when you get to sort of March, April time. Absolutely.
Well, I can see that we have Max Cleworth ready to come and join us on MatchDay Live, so Andy's going to pass him the microphone. Come on, Max, come and step into shot. We'd like to see you. You are. Trust us. You just in the hair? Do you want to have a look in the... Good to go, I think. Well, thank you for coming and joining us so quickly. Max, what was that one like to play in today?
It wasn't probably the nicest game. It was sort of, especially second half, sort of grind it out kind of performance, but I guess at the end of the day, the winning, the clean sheet is all that matters, so we've got that, and we move on to next week.
Just talk us through that point. When you say it's not the nicest game, was that more physical, or what was behind that thought?
I don't think we were particularly at our best. I know we started quite well, but we sort of struggled to get, especially second half, sort of a foothold in it, and they sort of got a lot of momentum. But then when that happens, you have to show the other side of the game, and I think we did that quite well. Were there some strong messages in the dressing room at half-time from Phil and Steve Parkin? Yeah, I think, well, look, we'd started quite well, I thought, and especially first 20, 25, I thought we were playing well. They got back into it a little bit, had a couple of chances. So it was just to sort of get back to what we were doing, try and be a bit stronger, win them first duels and the second balls. And I think we did that better second half, but maybe, normally we would do it better. Ryan Barnett's first goal of the season, Max. Is that kind of finish something you've seen often on the training ground? Should I tell the truth?
Yeah, please.
No, yeah, look, Barney's been unbelievable this year, so we know he has that finish in him. We saw it last year, especially the second goal he scored against Forest Green here. So we know he can do it. I thought he was going to play Mulls, and then it's a good job he put it bottom corner in the end, because I don't think Mulls would have been too pleased. But yeah, he's been fantastic this year and showing another side to his game today.
When you look back across the game over the 90 minutes, would you have said that kind of quarter of an hour spell after half-time was perhaps your best spell in the game as a side, the chances you created and getting on the front foot in that spell?
Yeah, I think we started the second half well. We started both halves well, and then we definitely had a few chances where we could have seen the game off. I think obviously the big one was Pazzi's one at the end. I think it might have took a nick or something. El had a couple. I think Mulls had one from Barney's cross. So even though we weren't particularly dominant on the ball, we certainly had, if not the best chances in the second half. They had a couple, but I felt we were defended well. So yeah, all that matters in the end is the win.
Max, obviously Lee Gregory on your side in that first half particularly caused you not too many issues. I thought you marshalled him quite well. Player on 7 goals this season. Was that something maybe that was spoke about in the lead up to this game as a bit of a massive threat? Yeah, we knew obviously the level that he's played at. He's very clever. He's not the quickest or one that's going to run away from you, but he's got that clever brain and the movement and the little nudges. So I think he did it well. To be fair, I thought it was a good battle. He certainly won his duels, and I felt like I won a few against him. But yeah, it's that timing, trying not to give a foul away. He gets his body in the way well, and obviously his touch
is going to be good for the level he's played at. So yeah, it was, you know, knowing about them two up front. I think overall we mastered them fairly well.
How are you feeling in yourself now post-injury?
Yeah, feeling better. Obviously it was a new experience for me because, you know, I've never been injured before, so it was quite frustrating. Obviously I'm lucky it wasn't too serious. You know, some of the lads have had really bad injuries, and you know, you feel for them. But obviously the medical team we have got me back really quick, and you know, it's all down to them, and you know, I owe a lot of that to them for trying to speed up the process. But yeah, it's just trying to find, you know, trusting it a bit, and you know, the more I play, the more it'll feel better.
And when you reflect on the season so far, the 14 games plus the cup ties, as a side, do you feel you're getting ever better, or is it not as simple as that? Is it that form will kind of rise and fall a little bit game to game, and you don't kind of feel that there's that sort of graph line that's going upwards?
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, in this league a lot of teams are close together, especially towards the top, so you know, anyone on their day can sort of turn the other team over. But I think we have a steady consistency in our team and in our play. We have sort of a way we can rely on to play. You know, if it is hard like today, we have a grittiness that I think holds you in good stead. So even if we're not at our best, which you know, we know the levels we can reach, we can still drag out results. And you know, when it's sort of not going our way, you know, we're confident we can still compete with teams.
Brilliant. Well, Max, thank you so much for coming to join us.
No
well
worries.
done on your performance today and the win, and all the best for Stockport on Saturday. Played them a few times.
See you soon. See you in a bit.
Max Cleworth,
Is he not playing against Port Vale, no?
I kind of thought you might get Tuesday night off, Max, but we haven't been told officially. We might see him, we might not. Port Vale on Tuesday then for Wrexham, Stockport on Saturday as the League One mission continues. Max, equally honest there, Mia, with us.
Yeah, I think, you know, he knows, like we sort of echoed Phil Parkinson in that the performance maybe wasn't at the level they can get to and they expect, but they've done really well to grind out that result. And I think at the end of the day, that's what you've got to take away from it. The positives, that defensively they've kept a clean sheet, and they've sort of restricted Mansfield to not very many clear-cut opportunities, which is all you can ask for from your back line. And I think, you know, he's flying at the moment. It's great to see that injury wasn't a long-term one, and that he's got back in. It shows the level of commitment that he's set himself, and obviously, like he said, the skill level of the staff behind the scenes to get him back so quickly.
Andy? What a great lad, isn't he? So down to earth, so wants to learn, wants to get better. Wrexham have got a real asset on their hands there.
And I think he looks bigger and stronger even than last season. I mean, you know, his sort of physical conditioning, his development as a player, but also physically as well to cope with that. He looks to me like maybe he's put a little bit of weight on, muscle build presumably through the summer. You know, physically he looks that bit stronger now, I think, this season.
Yeah, I think making the step up, I think that's something that they've obviously looked at last season. Where can we improve him? How can we help him? Because he's really good with the ball at his feet, isn't he? He can find passes. He's really comfortable. So how can we make him even better? Yeah, it's maybe his strength up against bigger strikers, and he's learned how to deal with people like Gregory. He's learning that all the time, and he's certainly then this season, like you say, he's made himself a bit stronger to be able to hold his ground a little bit more and win more headers for himself. It's not necessarily technique, it's holding the player in a position and reading the flight of the ball first, and he's done that really well this season. And I think if he continues on the pathway that he's going, which is learning all the time and wanting to learn, then he could go wherever he wants to, in my opinion.
Well, he's sitting on 3 goals as well. I think that makes him
Yeah.
the third top goal scorer. So
Always handy.
He's missed a few games as well. So I think, you know, he shows he's added that to his game this year, which is fantastic to see. And you know, like Andy said, he's such a great asset to this club.
Andy, thank you very much today. We will see you in a fortnight for the home game against Exeter City. Mia, you're in action tomorrow. Cup tie for you for Llandudno. Who have you got?
Yeah, Aberystwyth at home. So yeah, should be a tasty one. I'm hoping. I know Gemma Owen alluded to it at half time. You know, saying maybe some of the smaller teams can get a bit of a cup upset. So fingers crossed, we'll see. Fingers crossed
for an upset for the Dudno tomorrow. Then thank you very much as well. So Wrexham came up against one of their well-known adversaries from the last couple of seasons this afternoon, but once again the Stoke Kairas proved a happy hunting ground for Phil Parkinson's side as the Stags were left to stagger home. From all of us here at the Stoke Kairas, we'll see you in a fortnight. Diolch am wylio. Good night.